Morning. So this is another installment in our series we're doing here out in Knox Vegas to try and get some good information out to everybody. We've got today we're going to do a load boost test on a CT, and we're going to do a benchtop test on CT as well. You can see, I'm guessing you can see what I'm looking at here. So it says that I'm John Jones, and that is correct. I am John Jones. So the quarantine webinar series, I like it. Okay, so as you can see, upcoming schedule next week we've got we're going to be interpreting CT test results. We're going to be talking about parallelograms and what the information means when we perform the tests on CTs and what we can do with it, what it shows us. And then on 4.2 we've got a new product intro, so we're pretty excited about that. So everybody please tune into those. And if you've got any suggestions for anything you'd like to see, please send those in to us, okay? Because we're like everybody else in this country right now. We're just moving forward, until we know what's going on. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing here, which is doing these webinar series until we can get out and travel again, okay? Yeah. So on the 4.2 one, that new product intro. Just anybody that you think at your company that might be interested in seeing this new product we've got, it's pretty impressive. You maybe even want to get some supervisors and other folks to come in on that one. So we also, right now, we're offering some a product service promo. It's a 25% discount right now for any calibrations, repairs, or upgrades. So if you've been thinking about maybe upgrading, adding a voltage source, or adding a load box, or to any of your test kits, now would be a good time. So you can get them in here, and as I said, you're going to get a 25% discount on that. You can see right there on the screen that if you need to submit an RMA request, just go right there and give us a call. And these are going to stay in place through April, okay, these discounts. All right, so here's what we've got set up this morning. I went ahead and set up a benchtop test on a bar-type transformer because there's going to be some dead time. I'll let Jarrett fill in with some good information about upcoming stuff in between. But I want to go ahead and get this set up, and then I'm going to go from this to a standard donut CT, and we'll do it next. But I want you to see the bar top, so I've already got it all set up. So get a screen back up. So this is how, when you get ready to start the test, this is actually a component test. There's no site associated with it because you're doing it on a benchtop. So so you would just use a component test and choose it, perform the test. And let's go over the connections really quick on what I've done here, okay? Because it's a bar type, I'm using these, okay? So I'm using these to make my connections. And if I'm doing a benchtop test, okay, if you think about it, all I'm doing is I'm driving some primary current through that CT, and then I'm going to measure my secondary current here, and I'm going to do a ratio test. I'm going to compare my primary current with my secondary current, and I'm going to do a ratio on it while it's just sitting here on the benchtop. So I do need to supply primary current through here, which I did here and here. Then I'm going to read my secondary current here and here. Okay. Now you can't see it, but down here at the on the floor, which I've got driving all this, you do need a if you're doing it inside, which you would do if you're doing a benchtop test, you're going to use one of these boxes. Let me see if I can get it up here. No, I can't. But anyway, you'll use one of the adapter boxes, and you're going to plug into the wall. Well, when you do that, you're going to need to make sure you take your A-phase voltage cable from the 7 series and plug it into the box. It needs a reference voltage to perform the test. So if you don't plug and put your your A-phase 4mm and just stick it in the back of the ones, your aux power cables you've already got in that box, if you don't stick it in there, it's going to say required voltage is not there. So then you'll do like I did the first time. You go, oh, that's right, and you'll plug it in there, and you'll stick your A-phase, your red 4mm adapter cable. You just stick it in and plug it into the box as well to give yourself that reference voltage. Okay, so that's what I've got on the floor here. Okay, now this is my 6mm cable. Okay, and I'm using a 6mm cable here now where my current is, because now I'm starting to drive more current. So I'm not using the standard stuff, so I'm using 6mm. Now on the 6mm cables, the red, my A-phase red connections are what I use to drive with, both for a bar type and for a donut. I use B-phase to read the secondary current. So I drive with A-phase and I read with B-phase. It's always like that, okay? Whether it's bar top, donut, and it works the same way on a load boost, it works the same way on a benchtop test. Drive with A-phase, read with B-phase, okay? So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm driving here and here with A-phase, and I'm reading right here with B phase. Another thing that usually gets people hung up, and you'll only do it one time, you'll get a polarity reversal on it if you're doing these tests, is you're going to drive. So I'm over here on the dot side of my CT. I've got my drive side. I've got a drive and return on here. So my drive is over here where it should be, right? Because that's where I would normally have my connection coming into the CT on the drive side, my hot side. On the return side, I come over here and that's exactly what I've got. I've got my return, my white cable is over here on the return leg on my CT, okay? But now let's think about it for a second on the secondary side. This is what gets people hung up sometimes, is this secondary side. Remember, for us, you can think about this white and black alligator clip here as, just think of it as my duck bill. And remember, on the duck bill, it's always in the white and out the black. It's always in the white and out the black. So that means where people get these connected backwards on here is, I'm coming out of X1, so that's where my current's coming out, right? So if my current's coming out of here, remember, it's in the white, so I want the white alligator clip to be over here on X1. A lot of people see drive on that black and they stick it over on X1 and they get polarity reversal. You just got to remember the flow. We're coming in the white, which means I need to come where it's coming out of that CT and make my connection there. So I've got my white on X1 and my black over there on X2. Okay? So now we're going to go back up here to the screen, and remember, I'm going to take component number 2 because I don't have a site associated with this, and it's telling me, it's giving me choices here, and I'm going to pick CT. Okay? So I'm going to pick number 3. And now here's where I select how much I'm going to drive. So everyone knows I've put 5 amps through my source, my other 7 series on the floor. I'm running 5 amps right now through these 200 to 5 CTs, which, well, this is a 400, excuse me. That's not nearly enough, right? You want to be at least at 10%, okay? Now we have to remember something with bar type CTs and using these, I can't do turns through there, right? So I'm limited to the size of the test kit. So the most I can ever generate on a bar type CT is going to be, for a 20 amp model, is going to be 20 amps. For the 50 amp model, it's going to be 50 amps because I can't put more turns through there and put more current through there. So in this case, I'm going to max it out. I have a 20 amp model and I'm going to put 20 amps through there. Okay? Then I'm going to go to my max burden and I'm going to put 0.5 on there. So I'll put 0.5 ohms of burden on there, burden added. And of course, since it's bar type, I don't have turns. Remember, I'm going to put 1 turn. That's all I can put. And then when I come to the CTs, I'm going to choose, I've got 400 to 5s here, so I'm going to choose a 400 to 5 CT here. You can enter in your specific CT if it's not in here, using Edit CT button right here, and you can enter in a CT that we don't have on here, but we've got an awful lot. But if they're not in there, you can add a different CT in there by just hitting Edit CT and adding one, okay? And then it'll be on the list from then on. So I'm going to choose this one here. And since we don't have a site associated with it, it's looking for something to be able to sort these things, right? If you put them in the database. So it goes off your serial number. So if you wanted to find the test and go back and recall the test, you do it by the serial number off of the CT, okay? So I'm just going to put 1, 1. All right, let's hit start. So please connect CT probes. We've done that. Remember, everything's on phase A, right? So I'm driving on phase A off of my 6 mil cable, and I'm reading on phase B. I guess I should go ahead and bring this up too. This happened to me at a utility company. When you're doing a benchtop test for one of these CTs, I can test 25 kV, 15 kV. I can test large, I can test these high voltage CTs on a benchtop test. And let's think about that for a minute. That's because I'm just driving a primary current through there and I'm reading a secondary current. I'm not connected into the system so that I could smoke or damage any of the equipment by being at too high a voltage, okay? I can do that. I've done it before. So if you did happen to have a medium voltage off of a rack, the instance I can remember up in Ohio, I did one, they had taken a lightning shot to a rack, medium voltage rack. So instead of, they were going to throw everything away, and I said, well, hold on a minute, and I benchtop tested all the CTs, and they were dead on. So they grabbed them some tools, and we're going to take them off and restock them. So you can do it, but remember, only a benchtop test, because all you're dealing with is current there and not voltage. All right, so I'm going to hit start test. So you can see we ended up with almost 20 on there, right? And so with the little bit that I had in there plus what I added to it, so we ended up with almost 20 amps running through there. We got a pass on it, so everything looked good. Now, what would I do if I wanted to test another one? Same thing. I would just disconnect this, put another one up there. If I was doing if I had a crate full come in, I wanted to do them, I could do them that way. Or if I'm just doing one at a time, then I would be done. And as soon as I hit done with this test, it's going to save the test. And we will go to previous. We will go to recall data. And here's where you can look at all these different ones that we've tested, and I would go to the one that I wanted to find, which would be CT. I go here, and I go here. So 213. Let's stay in the next one. Let's go to here. There we go. There's my test. So now let's try a donut CT. This is where I'm going to run the drive cable through the CT, and I'm going to perform the test. So let's go previous here. Okay. Okay, so I've got my CT here. It's got 205 CT. So this time I'm using a drive cable because it is a donut CT. So you just have to remember, you want this drive end. See, I've got this end is my drive end. I want to make sure my drive end is on the dot side of that CT, because I'm driving into the CT the same as you would do in the field. The current would go this way, right? I'm coming into the dot side of the CT. Okay, so that's what I've done here. All right. Then all I need to do is make the connections just as we did on the other one with my secondary, which is, remember, it's going to come out of here, so I want it to come in the white and back out the black. All right, so let's do component test again. CT. And I'm going to run 20 amps again. Burden will go to 5 again, and I'm one turn. If I wanted to put 2 turns through there, I could, but I only put 1 turn because that should be high enough. And we're going to go here, go at 200, and I'll just make that 1. 1, 2. Cool. Okay, now we will hit start test. And remember, if you put more than 1 turn through there, in both of my cases I've left it 1. If you put 2 turns, you would just put 2 in there in the turns box. Okay, start test. So it came out pretty good, 199.92 to 5, and for a 200 to 5, that's pretty darn good, so we got a pass on it. So that is how you would perform a benchtop test on both a bar type and on a donut type CT. Okay? So now we're going to set up and we're going to go over to the stand and we're actually going to do a load boost test, which would be if you're out in the field and you're performing a test. So we're going to set up here for just a minute. I'm putting a divider here. We're going to test A phase first here. So I'm going to put a separator here for top and bottom here on my return on phase A. So then once again, remember I said that the alligator clips on B phase for these tests, you can think of them as the duck bill. So I got white on top and black on the bottom. Okay? Then here on my A phase CT, I've got primaries that are already running through it. That would be your existing cables that would be there if you're out in the field. And I'm going to add this drive cable to it. So remember, you want the drive end to be on the dot side of the CT. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to leave the drive end of the drive cable should be on the end that is the dot side of the CT. Okay? And last but not least, when you're in the field, I'm going to have to use my red flexes to pick up my current. Okay? But now remember, I'm measuring my primary current with this red flex. My primary current now is two things. It's a summation of what was already there plus my drive cable. So I have to make sure I get both of them in the red flex. So when I come in, I want to grab both my drive cable and I want to grab the primary that's already there. Because if you think about it, what if the amps that are already there, they may not be enough to test it properly, but they could throw off your test if you didn't include them in there.
And one thing real quick, Ken wanted to see a shot of the drive thing on the floor. I apologize, I don't know all the technical terms. Ken, this is what you were asking about. John, you want to tell just a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So I'm using this. This is my source, if you will. This is the customer. So what I've done is I've set up, I just went in here and set up the manual load box control. And when you have manual load box control, this product is a 7332, so it has both voltage and a 20 amp current source. So that means I can adjust both voltage and current here. I can change the angles on here and I can change the amplitudes. So what I did was I just made it 5 amps is all I have primary current here, which is not enough to test properly a 200 to 5 CT. So that's why we're doing the load boost test. And I altered my angles just a little bit only because I'm a creature of habit and do that all the time when I do meter schools and do demos. So I separate my voltage and my current vectors. Okay, so that's why. So this is how we've got it set up right now. And here is, I'm glad you're down here looking at this. This is where I talked about getting your A phase. You want your A phase in here, plugged in here when you're using it inside. This gives me my reference. Okay, so I took my A phase off of my voltage cable and I plugged it into there. Okay. So it looks like we're set up now to, we've got our primary current, we've got our primary current being read by a red flex, I've got my drive cable as well as what was existing there. I've got, that's my drive, my measuring on B phase off of that 6mm cable. You can see I've separated here and I've got white at the top, black at the bottom, and I've got a divider in there, okay? So. Now we're going to actually, there's a site associated with this. Okay, so we're going to actually use a site here. So we're going to go to, let's see here, page down. So I'm going to go to stand. That is a site that I had previously set up in there, and I'm just going to hit select. And of course it's stand for my meter stand. Just like always, it's going to look like a normal test you've seen before. I'm going to go here and I can put in technicians' names if I want to. And now here's where I know what site I'm on. I'm on stand. It shows in the upper right hand corner like always. And now I've got my choices for that site, the different tests that I can perform there. And I'm going to go to number 4, which is instrument transformer testing. That's for testing CTs or PTs. So I'm going to go to number 4. And you can see right there, CT boost testing, load box, number 2. So here's where there's some things you got to add in here now, because remember, I'm actually doing this at the site, so I have my flexes involved. And if you could see that a minute ago, I'm not sure what you saw or not, but I did double wrap. So I'm going to check that double wrap box because I did double wrap my flex. Okay, and also max burden, that looks okay. I'm going to leave it at 0.5. Drive current, I'm going to put 20 through there. And then I only put one turn through, my drive cable only went through there one time, so I'm leaving that as 1. Everything looks good here. You guys have seen this a lot before in the past. It's got my green dot showing me where to make my connections. It's saying down here I've only got one primary, which I do, because I'm going to have to move it from B to B and C phases. Okay. Okay, so tell me I can start the test. So now you've gone out there, you've shown up at a site, and there wasn't enough load there to properly test the CT. So what we did was, at the site, we went and boosted that CT. We put the drive cable through that donut CT. We incorporated both of the cables into our red flex, so we made sure we picked up what was the residual left over in the primary current plus our drive cable. We put the total in there, right? And so between all of that now, it referenced, and I got a primary of 39.76 and a secondary of 0.991, which gave me a ratio of 20.56. So it's saying that nameplate ratio must be 205, and that is correct. Remember, if I didn't check the double wrap box, it would think they're 405s and it would jack me up. So don't forget, if you do double wrap like we did, you need to check the box, okay? So now you've seen a bench top of a bar type and donut. You've seen a load boost test. And if you want, you can get a load boost kit. I guess, can I bring that over and show them those things? Yeah. Okay. I'll do them here. Just be easier.
What you got?
Thanks, Jared. So we talked about, you saw on the slides earlier, the extension we were talking about. Here's the extension we're talking about to get up there. And the reason we did this was to make it a lot simpler to do overhead load boost test. Because with this now, what I do is I just take that 6 millimeter and I just stick it in here and here down at the ground at the test kit, right? So I stick this in here. Then I can go up 20 feet in the air and I can run that last bit through the CT and just plug it in here and here, so I'm not running 20, 25 feet through the CT. Okay, so we have this on the other end, so when we go up in the bucket, you can just run that last bit through there and you can connect it right here. We have a 10 foot that can go in here, 50 foot that can go in here, so we can get up pretty high. But this allows you to have to feed all that cable through there. You don't have to do that, okay, so that's why we did it that way. Okay, so we have Kent Lowry is going to be in the central United States for us, and Kent is going to be covering, like I said, central U.S. as regional sales manager. And we've got Jeremiah Swine out on the east, and we've got Martin Hyatt, who's been with us for a long, long time, out on the west. So we've got 3 guys covering the United States now. We've got western, central, and eastern. okay? But contact any of those guys, contact me as well. And because like I said, right now, we're like everybody else. We're trying to keep things moving here, so, but we're a little, tied down right now and can't get out there.